that post-Cold War balance?
Yes. I mean, as you've just said, he's never accepted the results of the Cold War, if you like, wants to turn it back. And I think more than a strategist, Putin's an opportunist. And this is, it seems to me, a pretty direct effect of the catastrophic way the West fled from Afghanistan. Because, I mean, you've just done a lot of Cold War history. You can look back in history and see that after the Americans lost in Vietnam, that was when Soviet communism pushed furthest out. There was even an attempt at a communist coup in Portugal in the 1970s. They tried to push further out from Eastern Europe into Western Europe. And I think the same thing's happening now. Putin has decided the West is at a moment of maximum weakness. Yes. So, and as you say, it's not just the Russian government. The Russian people think of the Ukrainian people as them, as one of them. The Ukrainians don't, but it's quite deep in the Russian psyche. So yes, this is a move that will be popular in Russia, and so he's trying to overturn the results of the Cold War.
Intrigued by that window of opportunity argument, because many people will say that Biden made an error over Afghanistan and is seen by his critics to be a bit doddery and more worried about China, perhaps. Boris Johnson has his own issues, which we will discuss at the end of the conversation, I'm sure. France and Germany seem to be taking slightly different, nuanced views. I mean, are you troubled that within NATO, which it's all about, there are really quite serious divisions?
Yes, I think this is a very depressing time for people who hold the values of the West dear, because we're in a political situation where, as you say, the American president appears wobbly and followed an American president who was deeply unpredictable, to be as polite as possible about Donald Trump. And also, in other parts of NATO, the Germans in particular, I'm very, very worried about the German stance. They appear hamstrung by history and hamstrung by economics, where they're in this fixation that they are dependent on Russian energy.
And actively seeking to block some people sending troops. Yeah. I mean, they've sent helmets, which the Telegraph yesterday took the mickey out of unmercifully. But they just don't want to rub up against Russia because of the gas pipeline and economic relations.
That's right. And I think, oddly enough, one of the levers, we're looking for levers the West has got against Putin at the moment. And if the Germans would say, you know what, we don't trust you, we're not opening Nord Stream 2, that new gas pipeline, that would be quite an effective way of telling Putin, you cannot get away with this. I mean, there are other methods that we all need to contribute to, and the British government is of sending arms to the Ukraine, troops into other parts of Eastern Europe. Because in the end, I mean, it seems to me that Putin's at the point now where he has invested so much in this, so many troops on the border, that if we're going to stop this without a war, he's going to have to get something. And how little we can make that something is the really difficult task facing Western leaders.